the new VCE English EAL exam for 2024. As we all know, you guys doing Year 12 in 2024, you guys are the guinea pigs of the new study design. No one else has done it before. You guys are the first batch. Congratulations. VCA has released information about what the new exam is going to look like, and there are quite a few changes for section A, B, and C. Today we're going to go through the changes in section A. Now, VCA has explicitly stated that from now on, section A prompts will only be thematic prompts and not character-based ones. So what does that mean? Thematic-based prompts are really asking students to discuss and examine and explore and interpret how a theme or themes are developed throughout the course of the text and how it might show up at different points of the text. In the past, it used to be that we would get some character-based prompts. So that is prompts that ask students to just discuss one character or maybe two characters and their development throughout the novel or how they interacted with certain themes. That is no longer the case. Now, I think this is good news and bad news. The good news is that students now can just forget about practicing these character-based prompts as well as thematic prompts. And so structure-wise, it should just be one kind of structure that they're practicing. The bad news is that thematic-based prompts do require, in general, just a little bit more of our students. It requires them to have a greater mastery over the development of the themes throughout the course of the text. It requires them to have more nuanced understanding and interpretation of the themes. So that's the good news and the bad news. But what does that look like realistically? See if you can spot the difference. Here we have one prompt about the play Medea. Euripides' character Medea is a desperate woman maltreated by a despicable man. Do you agree? So this prompt here is really asking the student to talk about Medea's desperation and how she was mistreated by a despicable man and the consequences and result of that. So that is what we would call a character-based prompt. It is solely about the character of Medea. Now let's see the difference if this were to be a thematic-based prompt. Euripides suggests that villainy is always the result of desperation. Do you agree? So here in this new thematic style of prompt, we see the student being asked to consider the idea of villainy, right? The idea of being the bad guy and why someone might be the bad guy. And that is suggested in the prompt here, that it is the result of desperation. Now, this prompt doesn't limit the student to just talking about Medea like the previous prompt. In this prompt, you could feasibly talk about a lot of characters. You could talk about Medea, you could talk about Jason, you could talk about the society in general and the way it's set up, right, for women to fail and for women to be desperate. Let's have a look at another prompt. So this prompt is for measure. The Duke achieves justice through disguise and manipulation in Measure for Measure. Discuss. So in this prompt, again, it's very explicit that the student is asked to talk about the Duke. Now, of course, you can talk about other characters because it's hard to talk about the Duke achieving justice without talking about any of the characters. But the focus here is explicitly on the Duke, and there's not much of a demand on the student to talk about other characters. So this is a character-based prompt, and this kind of prompt will no longer be seen in section A. Instead, we'll see more of this kind of prompt. Shakespeare suggests justice can be achieved through disguise and manipulation. Discuss. So see how this new style of prompt, there's no character that's mentioned. It's not completely clear as to what character we're expected to talk about in terms of achieving justice, in terms of disguise and manipulation, because that happens throughout the play. There's no limit on who the student can talk about in terms of achieving justice or using disguise and manipulation. So the interpretation there is quite open, and students can sort of really go ahead and discuss these themes throughout the whole of the text with multiple characters. So I hope that was helpful. In the upcoming videos, we will be discussing the changes to section B as well as section C. So make sure you've liked and subscribed to all of our social media channels so you don't miss out. If you're after some one-to-one English tutoring in an online format, please get in touch and let's have a chat about how we can support you. I'm Shalane from TSC Tuition. Thanks for watching.